Hey,
Hi. Of
thank you first for talking to us today and kind of
course.
giving us a chance to hear about your new album and your guys' tour. Would you like to start by introducing yourself to everybody?
Sure. I'm Tim Brennan. I play guitar, accordion, and various other things for the Dropkick Murphys.
Nice. So you guys do have a new album coming out called For the People.
Yep.
You want to tell us about that?
Sure. Yeah, we recorded it way back in the middle of the winter. Um, and Yeah, we knew that after doing so the last two records that we put out were acoustic albums that featured the lyrics of Woody Guthrie. And I think even when we were doing that, we knew that the next full length that we were going to do was going to be sort of louder and more raucous than any of the previous stuff, especially coming out of the Guthrie things. Um, so we went to the studio and then of course the world being as it is, that sort of affected the way that the lyrics of the songs were written but yeah, e- either way, I'm so excited to have a new record coming out. And yeah, July 4th it comes out. I'm not sure if that will have happened already at this point when this comes out, but um I'm so excited about it. Yeah.
That's really
Um,
awesome.
there's a lot of different sounding stuff on there. Um, for people who think they know what Dropkick Murphys sound like, there's going to be some surprising stuff, I think.
I think it's interesting too, and just to lightly touch on it, you know, for the people, obviously, like you said, it got changed a little. The political
Yeah,
climate affects, what you talk about, but
right.
that's always been who you guys are. And I think some people are forgetting that. And that's kind of interesting to me.
Yeah, yeah, well, it's luckily it's rare that we come up against a thing like people might have seen the video of us getting a little bit trolled at a show, and Ken handling it beautifully. But that's something that we talk about every once in a while, which is it would be hard to be a Dropkick Murphys fan and not already know what our stance on things are. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
We've been pretty clear about it from the get-go. Um, so yeah, that's surprising to us sometimes as well.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It kind
it's
of plays back into that idea, I guess, like even, Kurt Cobain made the one song and kind of jokingly like said to everyone, like, well, you know the lyrics, but you don't know what it
right.
means.
Yeah,
Sometimes that really does, I think, play out into to what people, because when someone says shut up and sing and you're like, "No, this is what we've always done."
right. Yeah,
Kind
yeah,
of. Yeah. So Who Will Stand With Us is almost like, and which is the name of the first track, right, on the
yeah,
album.
right.
It's almost funny because, you're looking to your fans to think, well, they're automatically going to, and like who's new. But
Right.
it's like sometimes you have to remind them like where you're at. But that's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And then Ken, he went to Ukraine recently.
He did. Yeah. There's not a ton that I know about it, unfortunately, other than Ken went over there and was with a group of people that were running supplies from Poland to the Ukraine.
Uh,
So I don't even know any specifics yet, really, about what he saw or anything.
I would imagine that in general would just be like a life-changing thing to
Yeah,
see.
right.
Tell me what you're most excited for about this upcoming tour.
Um, I'm very excited to be going out with Bad Religion. Um, Originally, we were going to do a tour with Flogging Molly, and then Dave from Flogging Molly has had some health stuff, so we weren't able to do that. And then luckily, Bad Religion stepped in, and so we're super excited to do that. I personally am like, when we have new music that's about to come out, I'm like vibrating with anticipation to play new songs. We've played two new songs actually before we even really announced that the record was coming out. We had played two new. We'd played "Who Stand With Us" and then one other one. But there's so much way different sounding stuff on this album that I'm super excited to play for people. So that for me personally, that's what I'm most excited about.
Heck yeah. That is I think it's always fun too when you get a chance to kind of show off a different side of your music, and kind of explore. And you know uh, it's interesting how sometimes your fans can be like kind of picky about that. And
Absolutely.
I don't get that always, because I think that if you like appreciate an artist, you should want them to keep growing and to
I
keep.
agree 1,000,000%.
Yeah,
I heard somebody say once, if you don't lose, 10% of your fans every time you put out a new album, you're not doing it right. Because meaning that like sometimes you have to take steps forward that some people aren't gonna like at the time. A
right.
lot of times, I mean, I can't tell you how many albums have come out where I've been a fan of a band and then a new record comes out and I'm like, yeah, I'm not sure. And then a couple years later, I come back to it and I'm like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing that they've ever done. Um,
You weren't ready.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I agree. I think that bands should their fans should allow them to take steps forward musically speaking and everything. And I think people are gonna like the different sounding stuff on here. I can't imagine that they wouldn't. But
Yeah,
I'm just very excited that because I think there's a lot of people that would say they know what Dropkick Murphy sounds like, you know, and I get it. We're in a fairly specific niche of music as far as like the Irish and punk thing. Um, but I do think people are going to be surprised by the different sounding stuff on here, and I think they're really going to enjoy it.
that's exciting. I think it'll be cool to see how you guys have grown, and
Yeah,
what the changes are.
yeah.
And like you said, you will lose people. Like I'm sure Dylan probably lost a lot of people when he decided to go
Oh my
electric.
God. So many people, everybody, I mean, yeah.
But look now, that's some of the stuff that people look back on and they're like, I kind of slept on that.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. So it'll be good. I think that'll be something to be excited about. Let
Yeah.
me um tell me something that you feel like. I I hear, you say that a lot of people think that they know what your sound is and who you guys are. Tell me something that you think maybe people have overlooked, or that is maybe a smaller thing that's a little less known. Something interesting that you feel like more people should know about you guys.
Um, sure. You know, um, I think along the lines of some people knowing what we sound like, I think there's maybe the idea that it's not like this sounds so stupid, but that the musical IQ of the band guys isn't as high as it is maybe. I'm amazed every day by the guys and that I get to play in a band with. Um, uh, I mean, in my opinion, we're one of the tightest band. We're certainly the tightest band I've ever been in. And I do think that sometimes, along with people sort of knowing or thinking that they know what we sound like, I think sometimes the musicality gets overlooked a little bit. Um, but as like a super duper music guy, that's of course just something that I think about. I'm sure everyone else would have a different answer about that, you know. Um,
Hmm.
but um, yeah, I think sometimes maybe we could be looked at as sort of like a base level musicianship type of band, but I assure you, the guys that I get to play with are phenomenal at what they do.
That's interesting to me, because I think that you guys have such a wide range. Like accordion, what do you
Yeah,
mean that you guys are like, no way could you be limited and play like you guys incorporate so many different instruments and sounds and
we
elements to
do.
your music.
Yeah.
To discredit that in any way, if anyone does treat you that way, I'm sorry, because
Oh, I
I'll give
appreciate
you. Yeah, no,
that.
I think some people, like, I think some bands are really limited to just the instruments that they know how to play,
Sure. Yeah.
and they don't want to switch up, and they don't kind of want to learn. And
Yeah.
something I've seen with a lot of, because I have a lot of, band guys that are, I book shows too. So we do, local bands. And I think some of the most successful ones are the ones that instrument swap. They swap their members, they play together, they help
Yeah.
each other. And, that if you don't have like that multi-instrument,
Yeah,
knowledge, it's not that you're a bad band, but I think it gives you a
absolutely. It definitely helps. Yeah. And
yeah,
we have like a few Swiss Army knives in our band, which is nice.
yeah,
As far as guys that can do multiple things.
yeah.
And so yeah, it's nice to hear you say that.
Well, I'm glad that I at least could, give you that because I think that automatically puts you in another tier anyway.
Thank you. Sometimes I fear that people think of us as just like a dumb sort of base level rock band. You know what I
I
mean?
get that, but I don't think that's the general consensus at all, at least from like a
Good.
layman standpoint.
Good.
um, Something kind of funny yesterday, and I think maybe is a lot of the way people have found you. My uncle, he's an older guy, and we usually listen to classic rock. But in the shift of songs as we're riding in the car for like 3 hours, one of your songs came on, and he was like, "Oh, what made you get into this band?" Because it wasn't something he was familiar with, and I was like,
Right.
I don't really know. I was like, I kind of found this stuff on my own, and then so as I was thinking about it, it made me realize, well, I have Irish heritage. So that's
Uh-huh.
how I found you guys because like I was celebrating St. Patrick's Day and
Yep.
it gets in the playlist, right?
Yep.
And you
Yep.
just realize that like eventually it's like the theme for that. So do you feel like that's still like a thing where you guys are still constantly finding new fans just based on the
Yes,
fact that you're played on
definitely.
a holiday?
Yeah, I mean, and it definitely helps. Like the whole shipping up to Boston thing definitely helps because that gets played at like a lot of sports games and stuff. So that song sticks in the head of people who maybe otherwise would not ever hear the name Dropkick Murphys ever. So that's definitely been helpful for getting new ears on us, certainly. Um, but it was the same thing for me. The band started in 96. I joined in 2003. So from 96 to 2003, I was just an Irish American kid who loved punk, traditional Irish music, and hardcore and stuff, and found these guys and became a huge fan. So before I ever joined the band, I was just a wicked fan of theirs
Yeah,
for the same exact reasons. Back then it would have been, labels would put out compilation CDs with, 15 different bands on it. And I had a couple of those, and Barroom Hero was on one, and something, some songs on another. And that's how I found Dropkicks and then just became a fan.
nice. Hell yeah. That's a cool story too. It's always fun to see like the fan to like band member
Yes.
transition.
Yeah.
I think you go harder even then because you feel like you have something to prove. You're like,
Absolutely.
I'm about
Yeah.
to show you how much I love you guys.
That and yeah, you don't want to do anything but add to the already awesome sort of history of these guys. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
So yeah, luckily they've kept me around for 23 years or whatever it is. So, yeah.
So how'd they find you?
So there was a former band member, Mark Arell, who played guitar for a handful of years. He and I met each other growing up when we were like 15. Um, I was always a drummer, and he obviously a guitar player. He and I were both in the same sort of situation where we were very good for our instruments being that young. And so we were in bands with older guys. His band was from Massachusetts, mine was from Connecticut, and we would play together every once in a while. And because he and I were the two 15-year-olds in the room, we sort of bonded over that. Lost touch for a little bit, and then when I went to college, I made friends with this girl, and one day she was like, "My boyfriend's coming up this weekend. I think you guys will get along." And it was Mark when he showed up. So he
That's
and I
cool.
reconnected, and we started playing music together. He realized I could play all sorts of weird Irish instruments, and then he sort of floated my name to Ken one day. And then they brought me out on now what I realize now, 22 years later, was a real trial by fire trip where for 3 months they had me selling t-shirts on the Warp Tour. And then I would like run to the stage and play like one song on accordion and then run back to the t-shirt tent and sell shirts the rest of the day.
You put in your time.
Yeah. And then we got to the end of that tour, and I said, "Well, fellas, this has been great, but I'm going to go back to school." And then I was there about a month, and Ken called me one day and was like, "You want to just join the band as a member?" And I said, "See there." and
Hell yeah.
then I just had to tell my parents I had quit college to join a rock and roll band, and then we were off to the races.
Oh goodness. How'd that conversation go?
It went. We now that we don't have two bigger fans in the world now. Were they skeptical when I was newly 21 years old and saying I'm leaving school? Sure, but um, yeah, they once they all it took was them meeting everybody. Uh,
Sure.
because, square parents from suburban Connecticut have an idea of what a rock band is comprised of. And once
Yeah,
they were able to see that none of what they thought, uh, was a thing, as soon as they met Ken and James and everybody, uh, these guys are like family members to me. And so they were once they were on, they saw all that, they were totally on board.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. I can only imagine. And they probably like that you're including your heritage in what you
Oh,
do.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Because I learned about Irish music from their parents. So,
Nice.
yeah.
That's awesome. Heck yeah. I want to give you a few minutes in between your interviews. So
Okay. Well,
I'm
if
gonna
you
ask
have
you,
anything else pressing, I'm happy to answer it.
I think the only other question that I ever ask that I haven't asked, and it's the dumb, lame, like everybody asks it,
Yep.
but give our young musicians that are aspiring to do what you do
Yeah.
the best piece of advice that you can give.
The best piece of advice that I can give is, uh, they say that luck is really preparation plus, the time and place. Uh, all I can say is just practice. Start everything slow, build up your speed, whatever. When the time comes where you're either asked to join a band or you're starting a band or whatever, all of the work that you've put in previous is going to count massively towards all that. And then at the end of the day, it just always remember why you wanted to play music in the first place. It never occurred to me for 1 second when I started playing drums in bands when I was 14 that anybody would ever give me $1 to do it. Never occurred to me. In fact, the first tour as an actual band member in the Dropkicks, I remember I called Ken one day I think we had a day off in Minneapolis, and I called him and I was like, is there any way that the band could loan me $300 for rent to send back to my roommates? And he was like, yeah, yeah, we'll just take it out of your pay. And I was like, my what? Like never even occurred to me I was doing it just because I loved it so much. And so if you can keep your head in that sort of space, you're going to do great, you know?
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's
Of
awesome
course.
advice. And
Yeah.
I really appreciate you guys. It was super nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
I look forward to seeing you at the show.
All right. Take care.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.